Good afternoon and good evening and good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited that you could all make it, especially Christina, who's currently in a bit of a hurricane kind of almost thing, if I understood you correctly. It sounded very, very windy where you are. So I hope your electricity is going to hold up and, you can stay with us for a while. That'd be really nice. And also congrats on the new quieter pump. That is very, very cool. I like it. I keep promising things that I'm not doing, which is a shame, but I thought it's just appropriate to finish one thing that I'm currently working on, and that's this new OBS series. It's like a little bit of a mini series, and I've got 3 parts edited already, and I just need to film an intro for the first one, and I've recorded up to part 5 already, so the series is coming along very good, very well. And yeah, it was a little bit rainy today, so I couldn't film the outdoor thing, but I will put a couple of episodes on the Patreon site later, so that you get a bit of a first impression. It's not quite there and the thumbnails aren't ready, and that is of course what today's episode is all about. I want to make a thumbnail that identifies the series over its many parts on YouTube, and for that I'm imagining, I've had some really good feedback from somebody who says, well, in so many words, hey, I'm binge watching your channel, but I can't find the content that I'm looking for because there's hundreds of videos and the thumbnails don't necessarily give away what they're for. So he was suggesting, I thought that was a really cool idea, to make thumbnails identifiable by topic, by subject matter. And I'm thinking, yeah, that is actually a very cool idea. And maybe I won't be able to do that for, all my videos going back, but like I do for the DAS Studio 101 series, they all have this one identifiable thumbnail that I made in Blender with all the grass and all that. And, yeah, colored borders, exactly. That was the suggestion. So colored borders is one idea that's probably easy to implement. But for this series, I'd like to have something that has, so let's like a 16:9 thing. And on the left-hand side, we see the large OBS logo, and on the right hand side is all going to be kind of darkish gray with white writing on the whatever part number is on there. And rather than just doing that in 2D, I thought we could do that in 3D. So my idea was to have something along the lines of this, which would be a cylinder, which would be slightly thicker, and map the OBS logo on the front and have this whole thing be kind of a metallic type color, so a metallic fat cylinder that'll sit on the left hand side there on a slight angle with nice lighting, with maybe a nice shadow. And other than that, that's just a free picture on the right hand side on which I can do some typing in Photoshop. That's the idea. Doesn't sound so difficult, does it? It's one of those things I would imagine only takes a couple of minutes. Be a couple of hours before we know it. I'm so glad that you're here, Christina, because you may need to give me an advice or something about that. And I haven't forgotten about you, Steve, that it's definitely coming up. The 3 sets, I do want to check them out, so we'll definitely do that perhaps tomorrow. I have liked your comment, indeed. Yes, I did like your comment. It was a very, very cool comment. In case you haven't seen the comment that Christina left on somebody else's comment, who was commented on the fact that Octane isn't about lights. That was his comment. I thought that was kind of funny. it's yeah. What do you say to somebody like that? Anyway, Christina said it to him, so that. Let's see. We need our regular Blender 2.81 for this. I haven't got any assets for that yet, so it'll be interesting to see where we can grab them. I would imagine the OBS website has them. Oh, I know. So this is where all the magic is gonna happen. That's the plan. So I guess we'll go and get rid of the poor default cube. We don't need him anymore. And just blocking that out, then let's go with a cylinder, I guess. I'm always ambivalent about. See, a cylinder should be fine. It should all be fine. I'll go and scale that down in the Z-axis to make that kind of, fat metal. Then I'll go scale this up to, I don't know, maybe it doesn't really matter how big it is. Let's make it this big. And I'll also go and rotate it around the x-axis so that it's like that. And I'll also put that up maybe, what is that, 2 and a bit units. So GZ2. Yeah, we're almost there. I should have really done that before I made the cylinder so that I have an exact value, but we'll be okay. And perhaps before I forget, because I always do that, let me apply all these transforms. I believe it's Control A, apply rotation and scale and literally everything. There we go. That's perfect. We'll look through our camera. It's almost what we want, except it's not. Oops. Yeah, so I'm envisioning something like that with a bit of room here around it. Yeah, something along those lines. And perhaps then also put this on a slight rotation. We'll see what looks best with the light. I'll just leave it I'll leave it unrotated for now. But that's kind of how I envision it roughly. And then there'll be some text here, and there'll be some white space around this as well. That's always important to include in a thumbnail, like from the planning stages. Don't make the thumbnail, let's say like this, because YouTube will put some text over here. There'll be time on the bottom right. There's also something on the bottom left. So all these things, I like to put some visual space in there already before we even, before we come to the final image. So I'll make it a bit wider. And actually I'll just go and rotate it around the Z-axis a bit so that it's looking like that. Something like that. Oh, excellent, Steve. I'll have a look at that. Perhaps we should have a collection of crazy comments. It's not funny, actually. It's I don't want to hurt these people, and they don't leave these comments because I don't know. It's just I heard Techmoan wanted to make a video about his crazy comments once. He's close to 1 million subscribers, and he just gets the craziest comments. Sometimes he talks about this on his Patreon feed, and it's just it's kind of disheartening sometimes. Joe, thank you so much for joining. And Rod, hello Rod, hello Rod, hello Joe. Joe says hi, Rod says hi. Julia's playing Fortnite. Julia says hello. Ah, there we go. So nice to see you all. We're making a YouTube thumbnail today in this quick video. When I say quick, it's probably going to take 4 hours or so. It always does. And I'm having chamomile tea, in case you're wondering. So let me lock off that camera and see if we can, if and how, and I don't know if I need to redo the cylinder. I'm happy to do that. I think I'm gonna have to redo that because I've rotated it now. That was a big mistake, wasn't it? Because I think I have to project the logo from the view, and even if I go and look at it from the front, that was not such a good idea. So I'll go and undo the Z rotation that I've just done there. Stupid mistake that. Let's go and grab the OBS logo to begin with. That's probably a good start, isn't it? So the OBS logo might be on the OBS website. So that's obsproject.com. Some open source projects have their assets in the bottom somewhere, like Blender. OBS does not. But I'm sure they're open source. Usually these open source projects are completely open source. My goodness, Rod, and we have voted for you. And once you vote, so Rod, in case you haven't heard this, Rod is running for Artist of the Year. If you have a direct link to the voting, drop it in the chat, Rod. That'd be great, and other viewers can catch it as well. We've voted yesterday, and after you vote, you get told the results of who's currently in the lead. Guess who's in the lead, and guess by how many points. Oh my god, that was That was awesome. I mean, I don't know if you know about it, Rod. I might keep it a secret and not tell you, but it's looking okay for you. It's looking okay for you. That's all I can say. OBS assets, maybe that'll bring something up. Off balance sheet, Investopedia, not exactly what we're looking for. Let's try this again. OBS brand assets, something like what they're called. It's also not what they're called. I could just go and search for OBS logo. Christina, that's exactly what for us as well. Rod was in the lead, and this is crazy. Rod was in the lead by over 20% points compared to everyone else. So it's not just like you're running head to head, like when you were Artist of the Month in October. It wasn't like that you were head to head with people. You were literally over 20% ahead of literally everyone else. That's very cool. So it's obviously still a bit of time to go, but it looks very good for you. I wonder if they've done something here on the forum thread. Oh, that was the old logo. My goodness. Yeah, they have really updated that. They have updated that a lot. That is very nice. So I could just go to images and grab something like that. That's high resolution. OBS logo on Wikipedia. Well, that is something I didn't even think of. That's a great idea. Let's just go there. It's available as SVG as well. Woo! With that we can do other exciting things. Author Hugh Jim Bailey. Hello, Jim. If you're watching, OBS rocks. Original file as SVG. Let me grab the SVG. Ideally, download the SVG. Is that not how it works with an SVG file? Original file, SVG. How do I... Is that not a save option somewhere? Save file as? No. Save page as? Drag it out. How's that work? It doesn't. Save page as, but I don't have save file as. Dun, dun, dun. SVG. Hated by the internet. Let's stick with the PNG then. Yeah, because save image as I have. Go back one page. Oh, okay. Oh, that was so nice on Mixer, wasn't it? Where we had such low latency, like this one, right? Would I go and say save link as? Ain't happening. I'll just stick with the PNG. That's cool. Or is it save link as? I don't know. Save image as. And I'll go and make another little folder on my desktop for this. Have I done that already? OBS files. There we go. There's some assets that I'm using. I'll just call that one OBS logo. There. It's Firefox for you. Firefox, the weird browser. Also open source. That's not why it's weird. It's just, you know. So in Blender then, if I look at this cylinder here, that currently isn't unwrapped. And sadly, I know so very, very little about UV editing. I can try and have a go at it. Oh, that actually looks pretty good. It's unwrapped it already. Oh. Is that new? That's new, isn't it? Because I remember that Blender never had UVs on such exciting things as primitives. That is cool. So all I need to do now is put the image literally on one of these. That'll do it, right? Oh, nice. Commoners, he calls us. Woo, that's exciting. That is great though, because that also means, I mean, don't take this the wrong way, Rod, but I don't think you're doing a lot of marketing around your product, about your project. And you're still getting that much of a reputation. That is kind of cool. So people just do this naturally. You haven't paid them to vote for you, right? It's kind of an organic result. That's how I see that. And I think that's very inspiring. 2 material slots. Remind me why that's necessary? I think the first one, I'll have to go and make a material here. That's going to be the OBS logo, I'll call it. So that's one material. And I suppose that material is going to be on the front. And then the rest of it is going to be like a metal type thing. So I'm thinking, let's go and select that and assign that to that. Yeah, see, great minds think alike, Christina. That's really cool, isn't it? That is very cool. So can I also now make this circle like larger? Can I stretch it out? Shall I stretch it out? Is that an idea? Great minds think alike. I love that. So then we go and create another material. So this is assigned to that. Just to make sure. I'll create another material and I'll call that one metal. And the metal, I'll go and select everything except for that. Oh man. How do I unselect that? Is that shift select? Yes! Oh my god, I remembered. I'm useful. I've also seen that the camera's on the other side. That's cool. We can rotate the cylinder. That's fine. So with all these things, I'm now going to assign the metal. I can't just leave it as small as that. I think it'll be okay. And we'll all come over to Independence, Missouri and party. That's going to be a good idea. So, so with the logo, select, actually deselect and just select that. Do we now open an image? Is that how we do it? Don't worry, Christina, we'll stumble through this like the blind people that we are together. It's part of the fun, isn't it? It's like a let's play video for 3D stuff. I'm going to go to OBS files, OBS logo. I'll open that. Woo! Ay caramba, that is large. Is that the material preview here? Hello, anybody? Oh, it doesn't actually have any it doesn't have an image texture on here. I always forget. Could I have just done something in the list here? Probably not. I'll just use a node. The nodes are the ones that I can deal with. This is the OBS logo here. That's cool. Base color. Let's add an image texture to that. Image texture. That goes into the base color here. And that, I think I've just opened that OBS logo. There we go. So that's the image texture. Ah, yes, it's on here. It's on here, it's on here, it's on here. So now all we need to do is fiddle with the UVs. So I was thinking I'll just select all of these and scale them up somehow like this and just go grab them, put them on here. Probably doesn't have to be mega accurate. I wonder if there's a way to just put that literally onto the, like, you know, make it as big as the tile is without me having to eyeball it. I mean, it is pretty much in the middle here. Oh, is there? Repeat to clip. Let me see if I can find that. That's exciting. So you're saying repeat to clip. You probably mean here rather than here. Do you mean here? I could just, let me just see if I can search for that. Oh, wow, you are? Drone Control Center. How exciting, Rod. Okay. Under, that's UV and unwrap. Boom. Oh. Hey, that was easy. It looks like it's done what I wanted it to do. There's volume, there's settings, material library, viewport, custom properties, viewport display, material library. Is it dropping out? No, it's you. Maybe it's the storm, Christina. Well, it looks like it did what I wanted it to do. I'm happy. It seems to have done exactly what I wanted to do, so I don't think there's any need to change it. Do you see what I mean? It's kind of exactly where I wanted it to be. That's exactly what happens. So then the metal for the rest of this thing, I guess I'll just assign that with someone else. Perhaps shall I make? I mean, this is you know, this shows how I really don't know much about these things. Should I have added like a couple of loop cut and slides here, and then give it a subdivision surface modifier? I should have probably done that before. 2 of them. And then I'll go and scale, oops, not scale them, scale them in the y-axis so that they go out to about here. So that's number 1. And then I should have probably also done the same here, but I forgot how that works. Because it's not a quad, I can't use loop cut and slide here. There was something else. I think do I extrude inwards on this to get another bevel cut here on the side? How do I do that again? Wouldn't that be nice? I'm paying OBS. My $2 a month contribution are going there for sure. And press I, that was it exactly, inset. Haha, just like that. That's exactly, Christina, you're such a star. Perfect. So that's really all I want now, because then I can go out and I guess apply a subdivision surface modifier. These are nice. I also want to make this smooth shaded. Where did that happen again? Was that under view? Select object, shade smooth. Ha ha ha, found it. Good stuff. So now it looks like a, I don't know why this looks like a, what have I done here to the geometry? I don't know why there's like these 2 large riffles in here, but hey. Oh, right click does that as well, Christina. Ah, right click context menu. Very nice. I like learning multiple ways there. Well, it's still on there. I like it. OBS at its finest. Let's clad the rest of it in metal and see what happens. Ooh. Hide the subdiff so you can see the mesh. Yes, good point. Let's do that because we are kind of interested what these riffles are here. So under the buttons here, I'm going to go and say camera off, monitor off. There we go. Yeah, there's some Z fighting going. I don't know what's happened here. What have I done? I may have... It looks like I've extruded the geometry beyond its limits. Just for a laugh, what happens if I cut a hole into this? No, it all looks like that. What did I do? Double faces. Yeah, but how? I mean, why would that have happened? I don't understand. Usually when this happens, I just start again because this is too much trouble to fix. And I don't even know what it is and how this happened. I could maybe the overlay. This one here, is that the overlay? Face orientation. I don't even know where to begin. Why would only the inside be oriented differently than the rest, though? Up there, up here? Face, oh yeah, face orientation. Ooh, blue and red. That's good effect, I must say. Should I just select all the faces and then orient the normals outwards? Is that an idea? I've seen professionals do that. That's kind of... Do you think? I want a refund. Dear Blender Foundation, I need a refund for my cylinder. Shift N, do I have to select everything? Or just Shift N like that? Recalculate normals. Ay, caramba. Inside. Yeah, good. Let's make it outside. I don't want them outside. Like that. And then Shift N and... Guess what I'm missing is the button that says yes please that I just click. Yeah, so select all, Shift N, and now what? Oh, I see, it's done it. It's done it at that point. Right, it's done it at that point, but it hasn't solved the problem. Yeah, do you know... I don't think we can fix that. It's unfixable. Let's bring on cylinder version 2.0 with improvements. We'll call this guy bad cylinder and just hide him. Pretend this never happened. We'll just go create another one. Make a cylinder. There we go. Scale it down. Whoops, no. Scale down. Actually, no. Rotate this around that way. That's what we want. Camera's coming from here. Pop it up 1. And then we go and scale this in the Y to make it a fat coin type thing. About that. And since it worked so well, do you know, that would be good, actually, yeah. I'm thinking that would be good for season 3. I think for season 3 of 3D Shenanigans, we should look into some kind of collaborative work where more than one of us are on the same line. We could talk. We get to chip in with ideas. I can see that working really well. I could do with the practice though, so it's kind of nice to do this again. I'm going to call this one Good Cylinder. There we go. And in the, let's go make materials here. Actually, we already have materials. All we need to do is assign them, I guess, under UV editing. Look, it's almost like we're still there. So this guy, can we use that material that we had here? Yeah, that's cool. So OBS logo goes on here, assign, and then all we need to do in here is see, I've already forgotten. This is, you just told me, maybe I can scroll up and find out. There was something under UV, I think it was UV, and you just go unwrap. That was it, wasn't it? Option is, of course, gone. No, there it is, unwrap. Haha, perfect. There we go. I remembered. That's exciting. So then we need the other material here. Add. Select everything, shift select the face, and pick, this is now the metal, assign. Fantastic. Under shading, we see nothing. Oh, because I haven't put the, very good point. Let's put that's the metal, isn't it? So we want the OBS logo. That's now, looks like that. And it's kind of not what we want, is it? So those should be assigned as the metal, right? This, on the other hand, there we go, should be assigned to the OBS. There, perfect. That's good. That's what we want. So under almost. It's not quite what we want. So all these need to be assigned as the metal, I think. Also, maybe we should, we do. We don't. I don't understand why that happens. It's obviously like this part of the logo still thinks that's just not good, is it? Okay, so everything needs to be unassigned, maybe. Should we do that? Let's kind of get rid of the material. No, can't do that either. Be too easy. Can't do that. This is the metal material, which is apparently all over. I wish I knew what it meant, Christina. I don't know what second means. I don't get it. I'm so sorry. I don't, you know, Hi, Sutha. How you doing? Good to see you. Welcome. Do you know, I kind of had it. I can tell you what, let's go back to the beginning. I'll tell you what I had, and then I'll tell you what I'm trying to remake. I'm trying to make an OBS logo. I was very successful building that from a cylinder. It's got the logo on the front. It's got kind of another material on the rest of the cylinder. And it's kind of cool, except for there's some artifacts here, which I tried to understand for 10 minutes and understood that I'm not clever enough to ever get that. So I thought, hey, it's just a cylinder. Let's make another cylinder. So I started again. It kind of worked out well. Except for I've got some issues assigning the materials to the correct polygons. I've got two materials, metal and OBS logo. Don't know what material is actually. We can totally delete that. It's undeletable. Don't know why. I'll just live with it. So there's metal That's just the PBR material that is yet to be assigned. And there is OBS logo. OBS logo seems to be okay on the front, but it's also somehow on the back. I don't want it on the back. How can I get rid of it? I could probably just make another material. Second material slot. Okay. Like, I'll call it better metal. Because things are undeletable. Once they're in Blender, that's it. They're there forever. So now I'm going to go and unselect everything, reselect everything, actually unselect the front here, and assign the better metal to the rest of the polygons, right? Boom. That's what I was trying to do. Awesome. I think we've got it. This is what I want. I like it. I like it. So now I'm going to go and save this thing before I screw this up again, which is probably going to happen. I'll go and put that in Blender files. No, I'm going to put it on my desktop today. On my desktop, I'll go and create a new folder that's called OBS logo. And I'm going to call it Those are quite some good suggestions, my friends. I'm going to call it OBS logo version 1. Because inevitably what I need to do now is to go into edit mode and go and hit Control R and hit a couple of these things in there. And maybe this is where it went horribly wrong last time. So I just scaled them in the Y direction to make them, to move them closer to the outside. Let me try to do that again. Oh yeah, see, now this is actually what is kind of wrong here. Yes, that was my mistake then, wasn't it? Scale in the Y. Well, isn't that what I wanted to do? Scale in the Y. That's exactly what I wanted to do. To move them further out here. So I must have moved them the wrong way, maybe. Maybe. That should be enough. And on this face here, I'll inset this to kind of here. And on that face, I'll also inset that to kind of here. And then I'm adding that subdivision surface modifier. And then I'll see if smooth shading does something. It doesn't. That's interesting. But certainly we don't see those rancid artifacts anymore that we had here. On the bad cylinder. This is now the good cylinder. I also don't quite see that many subdivisions as I thought there would be. But that's okay. That's okay. It's only going to be like a thing on the right. Very true. I always wondered about that expression. That's probably what happened. I saw that they just kind of crossed over. I could even, I mean, just for a laugh, why don't we try in the bad cylinder? I don't know if it's possible to fix the little guy here, but if I were to go and select all these and all those as an edge loop, maybe I can just see if it just gets rid of the problem. I just want to know what I did wrong here. How do I do an edge loop again? Is that Alt click? No, that does other things, I guess. Well, like, let's try that. Yeah, no, great, that works. So scale Y, that doesn't do anything. So I'll just grab Y. That, yeah, look at that. That brings things back into perspective. I'll have to move this here, then go Alt select that, grab that whole thing here, whoops, GY, lock it to the Y. Oh, it's fixable. The poor guy is fixable. Look at that. We fixed the bad cylinder. How exciting! Maybe we can use Bad Cylinder now. He's not bad at all. Maybe we'll just call him Big Cylinder and Little Cylinder. He's okay now. Look at that. Oops. Oh, now we have 2 cylinders. Which one shall we use? I kind of like the early version of the cylinder. Well, technically, I saw that it doesn't really have something to do with normals. It was Z fighting, wasn't it? Or Z fighting. It was just because they were overlapped. The normals were always pointing in the right direction. They were never really broken or flipped in the first place. Oh well. I kind of like both of them. I think we had set the camera up for the larger cylinder already, so perhaps the camera is actually on the wrong side. So perhaps I'll go and hide my... I'm going to rename that actually. This is going to be small cylinder. And Bad Cylinder, I'm so glad we could fix him, is now the large cylinder. I'll use the large cylinder for now. I'm gonna go and this is the render, isn't it? Yeah, disable in renders. Great. So that we want to see is a large cylinder now. Just isn't. Oops. Small cylinder is now no longer in the picture. Large cylinder can go back to somewhere here. And he also needs to be rotated this way so that the OBS logo looks at the right, it looks at the camera here. Okay. That's nice. Let's see if we can put the metal material in place here. What are your thoughts, my friends? Shall I use the Extreme PBR library or just the Blender internal library? I'll take votes. Which one's got a better metal material? Christina, which is what makes this so much fun. You have so much experience in areas of Blender, and I have so little experience in any area of Blender. So together we come up with the most amazing creations. Isn't that amazing? I like that. So, yes, metal. Metal. I saw that. I'm so sorry. I still disagree with you. I didn't mess up the normals. They overlap. The normals, messing up normals means some of them face the wrong way. They were always facing the right way, I'm thinking. But hey, that's just, you know. No, I didn't flip them. They were always pointing in the same direction. I did not flip the normals. They were just overlapping and they were in the same space. Flipping means they were pointing the other way, like from outside to inside. Then nothing was ever pointing inside, I'm thinking. But it is a matter of opinion. Yeah, of course. I mean, at the end of the day, the faces got kind of in the way of one another. So yeah, I don't know. Do you want, I'm just going to move on because I want to get this done today, preferably. And it is a matter of literally a matter of interpretation. It is not something I want to really discuss to death. I mean, you know, normals can face one way or the other. Mine were always facing in one way, never the other. Hence, there was never a problem with where the normals were facing, as far as I'm concerned. But hey, that's my opinion. So adding the metal material there, how am I gonna do that? So I can try the internal material library, Cycles materials, and see if we find any metal here. Diamond facade, fake glass, marble, metallic paint. Oh, actually, I can zoom you guys in here, can't I? There we go. Metallic paint. Polished walnut, raspberry, silver planet. That could be cool. Let's try that. Let's try silver planet. Sure, I saw that. Drop a link to your project in the chat. That'd be nice. I'll have a look at it. So applying the material here, how do I do that again? How do I do that again? First of all, are we actually looking at this in cycles? No, we're looking at Eevee. That's okay. I mean, you know, just to see if something changes. I'm using the rendered view here. It's been a while since I've done materials. So I guess I have to be in edit mode, don't I? And then I have to select that material first. Metal, it is already selected, there we go. And then perhaps I'll go collapse this whole thing here and go and try Silver Planet. Apply to selected. I mean, we haven't really set up any real lights yet. Oh, there we go. Ah, interesting. It's the back, so we're not going to see much off the back, but and it's also not quite the right scale on the outsides here. Yeah, maybe it's not the material for me. Volumetric light, Rusty G. Let's try Rusty G. Oh. In edit mode, Rusty G. Apply to selected. See what that looks like. Project Kerrigan. Wow, my goodness. Look at that. I saw that. That's amazing work. Fantastic. You did this all in Blender? Very nice. Thank you for sharing. Very cool. You don't use Blender. Okay. So I don't know. I don't really like this material here, so I don't think I'm going to use it. But I'm also not that fit with materials. I'm not sure why I've got two materials now in here. Because my metal material isn't actually there anymore, so I'm a little bit disappointed about that. So I didn't want rusty metal. Rusty G, on the other hand, sounds kind of interesting. Perhaps I'll keep that. Once we set the light. I mean, this is really the main focus. So let me just go and put a light in here from one side. I think it's a point light by default. Yeah, we could probably leave that. Oops. And this can just be a dark gray. That's just for two-dimensional text there. Oh yeah, we may also need a plane, of course, like as a ground. There. And the plane, while we're here, let's go make that the ground material. And and just give that kind of a dark, either black. Let's try black here. black color. We can also make that a little bit glossy, I guess. Just maybe with a regular gloss shader, I'm thinking. Don't have to use the BSDF shader. Yeah, I'm thinking kind of a dark gray, match the OBS dark gray, something like that. And see what it looks like in cycles. As an Andrew, thank you so much for that wonderful suggestion. Shall we just ban you right now? Christina, would you like to do the honors? I'll buy followers if and when I see fit. Today's just not the day. Thanks for the suggestion, though. This could probably be a little bit more glossy later on. And I think the point light itself, maybe I'm going to turn this into an... No, I think I like the idea of a point light. I'm thinking I'll rotate this just on the side a little bit, and I'll try and make this glossy as well. So I'll try and rather than just use the BDSF shader, I'll just make that glossy too, with the glossy and the BSD whatever F shader. I'll try that. I'll try that. So on the large cylinder, ooh, okay, that's that. We don't want to do that. We want to use the OBS logo. There we go. And so I'll go and mix this with the glossy shader, I'm thinking. Put that material or the texture also into the glossy shader. And put a mix shader into here. Put the other output into there. And now it's a little bit glossy. Now it's a lot glossy. So I'm thinking to separate this from the background. I think I'm going to create another point light and make that really strong behind the OBS logo. Let's try that. And I think maybe this point light can also be just much stronger. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated, Steve. So you're still fairly close in the middle here. I'll just use another point light. And really crank that up to maybe like, I don't know, 100,000. Ooh, that's crazy. That might be a bit too much. Yeah, I think it's a little bit too much. And it's also, I think it could go back a little bit. Yeah, I don't want to see the light as such. I just want to see this halo kind of glow effect around it. So maybe we'll go and take 1 0 out of that equation. Or is a rim light better, that instead of a point light, we have a light that's kind of coming from about here and shines more at the subject from here, so we see a little bit of a rim here? That's also possible. That might actually be better. Maybe we'll do that. Sometimes it's good to have people like that, because then we get to practice. And I thank you guys for doing that. That's very cool. It's also the cool thing about Twitch right now is also that we can turn this into a follower or subscriber only chat. So sometimes if popular people do that, I'm not one of them, but if you get too many spam kind of suggestions like that, you can then say it's a subscriber only chat, and then these people don't have a chance to drop messages like that in the chat. I think I'll just go and turn that into a spotlight, move that up, and then rotate it around the x-axis so that we literally just illuminate this edge here. Yeah, I think I like that effect. I like that effect more, because then I can also make the edge a bit softer there. Yeah, this edge. So I can go and get rid of the original light. Oh, sorry, that's that light, isn't it? It's the other one. Oh no, I converted that, haven't I? Yeah, the other light is no longer there. Also good. Also good. So this is now the rim light, I'll call it. So this is the Z rotation. Here, like that, maybe. And the front point light, I might just make that much dimmer and put it right in the front of the logo, that we just illuminate that, maybe from the bottom or so. I'm not entirely sure. I don't get the illumination of the edge here anymore. This is partly due to not knowing what I'm doing. Oops. I think I'll leave it like that for now. I could probably, I don't know. I'm not that happy about it, but I think I'll leave it for now. I'll leave it for now. This one, I'll call it the front light. And that's that. So I'll make that like lesser in its intensity and just put that right in the front of it. Are we there yet? Is it maybe easier to just make another light that's in the center? Let's do that. I could have probably just moved that to where the cursor is. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Light, move to where the cursor is. How do I do that? Right click, perhaps, snap selection to cursor. Haha, it's much easier to get started, I think. Yeah, like that. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for. Just a little illumination in front of the thing. Like that. Changing the area light. Let's do that, Steve. Let's do that, Steve. That is the backlight you mean, right? Let's do that, because I'm not happy with it either. It's currently a spotlight. What shall we turn it into? Usually rim lights work best when they're almost opposite the camera, aren't they? So I could try that. I could try moving it to kind of literally opposite here. That might be an idea. Because I'm not really happy with it either. It's not dramatic. Joe likes it. That's nice, Joe. Thank you. I think we can always tell you what, why don't we just duplicate it? Shift D, and we'll go and not use this. And we're going to create another one, Rimlight version 2. And also, speaking of creating versions, let's go and save this as another thing. There we go. I'll try moving it to kind of opposite the camera. See, the only thing I like the fact that this illuminates this edge now, so we get this impression that this is now a 3D object. I like that. But what I don't like is the harsh shadow that it gives the logo. Well, maybe it's cool, I don't know yet, but you know. Ideally, I'd like for this to be a bit softer. Make the rim light an area light rather than a spotlight. Ah. And then I guess we can just make it larger, hence it'll create softer shadows, right? Softer light and shadows. Great minds think alike, Steve. I like it. I like it. So rim light version 2, if we make it larger, like 1 meter in size, we have softer stuff there. This is getting softer. This is getting softer. And then I'd say the only other thing we could try is moving it back a bit from it, so we can catch a bit more of this room with it, perhaps. Let's try it. That's the Y direction. GY. Whoops. That is the Y direction, isn't it? Yeah. GY. It doesn't look like it's... Oh, there we go. Just to get an impression of what happens to the shadow as I move it further back. And oh, maybe the closer was actually working even better. That's a good position, isn't it? So rather than it being like that, I think maybe it's the shape of the shadow that I didn't like. But by moving it now, it's kind of interesting the effects that you can build with it. That could be good. That could be good. What do you think? Let's see what it looks like rendered. Quick save, and let's have a look at it as a full render here. Oh yeah, also I think I can go and use the denoiser. Where's denoiser? 100%. Passes denoise. All right, let's do this thing. Render, whoops, rendering. Oh my god, no. I meant render image. I mean, considering it will be a YouTube thumbnail that's fairly small, so I'm happy with the absence of any detail here. But I like the separation of the logo here, and that we can see that this is a three-dimensional object. I might try doing something I might try doing something to this surface here. I might try just using the glossy shader. That might be nice. And I might also try using something even more exciting for the floor. So if we use something like a black marble instead of just a plain ground, we could maybe get something like reflections in there. For that, we'd have to also get an HDRI involved. Maybe that's just too much work. Perhaps this is just enough, really. I'm glad you guys like it. I'm really glad. And I'm glad about so much collaborative input to making this happen. I mean, it's such a simple project, but it's also a lovely exercise how to make something that's so simple and turn that into something that looks swishy. So this my thoughts. I'm gonna try and twist the logo just a little on the side. So I just rotate it a little bit more, that we get a little bit more of the profile while leaving the light intact. I think the light's good. I'd like to change the front material to something more interesting. So I can just play with this slider, just see what the glossy shader looks like. I might also tone down the front point light just a little bit to make that a bit darker, and just move it further down so that it appears to be coming not from here, but from further in the middle of the logo. Let's try that first, and then we can see what we want to do with the back, with the plane on the bottom. That's true. Photoshop is also a good contender to do these things. But the shadow now, that's perfect. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Something slightly dramatic that makes the OBS logo be the star. So that's the idea behind this all, that this is in the spotlight in a way. Okay, so slight tweak on the Z-axis and the material and the point light. Let's do that. So this guy, RZ, and just go move it. No, that's the wrong direction. Something like that. Yeah, exactly. That might just be enough. The point light, I'll just go move down. So GZ. I think the position was kind of okay. I think I might also G exit a little bit. Yeah, this is it. So that it's exactly in the middle of that triangular thing. Let's have a look at that. Look at that, point light in the perfect position. We now get even more of an impression of what the outline looks like. That's awesome. Do you think we make this cylinder a little bit thicker? Like even thicker, so rather make it just a bit thicker? That should be doable. Thank you, Rod. I like it. I like it too. Let's make it a little bit thicker. That's just a matter of, is that a matter of scaling it? to go for school. Let me apply everything that I've done so far to it. In fact, let me just go and save over our last save before we do anything else. And we'll go and save it as version 3. So that version 2 is one that we're really, really happy with. And version 3, well, Control A, all transformations. And now if I were to go and scale this now, I don't really know if I'm in world coordinates or in local coordinates. That is something I need to, I don't even know where that is. Is that in here maybe? No, that's, I wonder where that is. Oh, global, there we go, great, global. Move it to local. And then I believe if I go, I'd have to check, could this be SX? That's the wrong one. SY. That's also the wrong one. Yeah, see, it's not quite. And SZ is also not the right one. So, even though these are local coordinates now for the thing, it's not doing exactly what I wanted it to do. Could be normal. Could that be it? Could be view. Could be cursor. Let's try normal. If that is in fact what this is for. It might not be. Let me go grab the gizmo. Let me go get the gizmo out for scaling. I see the gizmo doesn't change, so I think there's something. This is probably not the. It says transform orientations, but they don't seem to change. So I don't think this is where you set that. I think it's somewhere else. There we go, object gizmos, that's where that was. So I'll go and click that to local, and this should just not going to change now. Damn, Toy doesn't do that. Object gizmo. Normal maybe? No, it just doesn't change. Gimbal? No, it just doesn't change at all. Oh well, maybe the thickness of the object isn't that important. I'm sure there's a way. I'm sure there's a way. I could cheat and just rotate it to 0 again, and then scale it, and then rotate it back on its axis. But there's got to be something else. Oh, Ralph! How you doing? Guten Abend aus Miami Beach. Sehr schön, dich zu treffen. And we all love the fact that you're looking after Christina so well. I myself had a TPN. It was a nightmare for 9 months. So I know what it's like. So yes, one of those things. Thank you for joining. Christina, what I'm trying to do is make the cylinder a little bit thicker. But of course it's on an axis, so I'm gonna have to see if I can try to find out the local transform options, and whatever I try hasn't worked so far. Ralph, that is priceless. I'd love to see your face. So my immediate idea was, hey, we're in global, so I'm going to go into local. But these things up here, they don't really change the transform orientations because the gizmo doesn't seem to follow suit. So then I thought, oh great, I'll go over here and change whatever the object gizmo shows me. So I'll say local to that, but that also doesn't change the gizmo bits and bobs. Nobody expects that. So what do you think, Christina? How do we do that? Because you may have a suggestion or two. While you think about that, I'm going to go and see how I can make this material a little bit more glossy. And then we can always make it a bit thicker. And then once we've done that, we can have a look at the whole object. So I'm thinking I'm going to make that rendered as well so that we get the full effect here. I like the light. Let's see what happens if we just turn this to more glossy. Oh, that was already glossy as can be. Oh, it's the roughness that we need to change here. Yeah, there we go. If we make it less rough, that should hopefully appear to make it more glossy. Am I right about that? Maybe I'm completely wrong about that. We also don't have an HDRI, so that's probably also why we don't see many glossy type effects. Christina, that is priceless. We're happy in general. We like to make the cylinder itself a bit thicker, so go back a bit. I could just, if I can't find the object transformation thing, I could just go into edit mode and just pull the back face off a little bit. That I could do that, or the few faces there, that's possible. I have not. Specular and metallicity. First of all, those are great words. I love those words. Specular and metallicity, in which case I might not need a gloss shader. I could just use the principal BSDF shader for that. Let me try that. So we're only using principal now. You said specular. And metallicity. That's a great metallic. There we go. Metallic. We want metallic. I must really read up on these things. What does specular do again? Don't see much of a difference, I'm afraid. Yeah, I just like for this to be a bit more shiny, that's all. Oh, hello, computer. Are you still with us? Oh, Blender's not responding. It's not what you want to see. Let me just quickly save that. Metallic, yeah, it doesn't really... It doesn't really do much of a difference. Clear coat, okay, let's do that. Clear coat up to 1, boom. Also, subsurface color, do we need to change that? No, subsurface, we're not even using subsurface, that's cool. Yeah, you say that, Joe, but then 69, that is, I look at people who are 69, 30, 40 years ago, they were old people. Today, I'm looking at people who are 69, and I don't think they're old, you know, they're kind of, yeah, middle-aged, slightly beyond maybe. Do you know what I mean? People who are like 60, 70, 80, they look like, you know, yeah, oldish people. They don't look like old people. I remember my granddad, when he was 60, that was an old man. That was a really old man. And today, somebody who's 60, he's kind of prime of his life, you know. Times have changed. Let's see what metallic does. So metallic definitely reflects the light more. That's cool. So let's crank that up so that we don't get the total reflection here. I'm happy for a little point, but I see. I can see that. I can see that. Specular. Let's mess with that. What does specular do? Yeah, I'm not sure if I like the effect here. Roughness. Roughness doesn't do anything either. Sheen. Oh, let's try sheen. Sheen doesn't do much either. Sheen tint, well, clear coat. Is that like a, yeah, I can see what that does. So that, I don't know if you can see that here. Let me go and zoom into the top left corner here to make that a little bit more obvious. This thing gives us, we can see the reflection of the light here. So as I drop clear coat down, it seems to not be shiny anymore. But with clear coat all the way up, it now is totally shiny. I guess we're not seeing reflections because we don't have HDRI in it. That's what I'm thinking. So I'll give it a little bit of clear coat. just to avoid having that hotspot there. "13, whoa, Rod. And you're absolutely right, age is just a number. So because we see this reflection now quite clearly, let me go and move that front light just up a little bit. Oh, look at that. It looks like the gizmo works if I click on the light. That's interesting. So that's now normal. If I go global again, yeah, that doesn't change with global. I don't understand it. Local, let's go global. Yeah, this works. This does not. I don't know what that does then. Ha, anyway. And also I'm gonna switch off the gizmo thing completely. Maybe use move. And just go move it up a tad so that it's in the middle of that logo here. There. Oh, there. And I'll just make it wider just manually in edit mode. Oh yeah, see, this is now. Does this work in edit mode? No, it's the same thing here. So it's local. No, it just doesn't work on this object for some reason. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. So the gizmo doesn't work even in edit mode. How about using the normals? Normal, that works. Aha, normal works. I like it. So all I like to do really is to grab this. I could also try growing it. I don't just want to yank this face out, because that wouldn't be good. I have to grab the next face as well. I think, wasn't there a way to grow the selection? Oh, okay, that's good to know, Christina. Interesting. Let me try to grow the selection. I'm sure there's a way to do that now. Maybe under the select menu. Was there a select menu? Am I mixing that up with a different software? I think in Hexagon and Carraro it's just plus. That is not the case in Blender. Growing a selection outwards. There was Control plus. Was that Control plus? No. Control numpad plus. Ah, Control numpad plus. Control numpad plus. So now we can just go and make it bigger this way. Now it's a bit chunkier. Maybe it's a bit too chunky. That's enough chunkness. What do you think? That's nice. We've chunked it up a bit without moving its position either. So I like that. On the outside of OBS, yes. So just to reiterate, my friends, this is for a YouTube thumbnail, and I'll go and save this and render it again. Yeah, this is for a YouTube thumbnail for my new OBS series, and the idea is that the space on the right, there'll just be text I type out in Photoshop in my regular Days One font, and it'll be kind of focused on this area. I'm thinking maybe the whole thing could move a little bit further to the left, so that we get a tiny bit of space on the side. And maybe that's enough. I mean, ideally, I could also do, and I don't know if you're up for that. We have a bit of time. I'm up for doing just a small animation, nothing major, but if we were to, sometimes when I'm introducing an episode, I'm talking like 10-15 seconds about what the episode is about. And I think what I could do with is just a very simple kind of camera zoom that goes in there. And I could do that with a high resolution render and then just do that in my editing software and just, you know, subtly zoom in. But maybe we can do something else with Blender. So we can do the camera move in Blender, but while we're doing that, we could change the position of a light, for example. We can try to move the front light from back forwards, for example, or we can try and mess with the backlight just subtly, that we move it from left to right, so that we have a combined camera move like this, and then we have a small subtle shadow movement there for 10 seconds. I'd be up for that because it's very fast to render, and you know, it'll just add that little bit extra, you know, je ne sais quoi to, you know, the video. Maybe I'm not entirely sure if I like the fact that we see the glowing hotspot here. Let me try and change that metallicity or the glossiness back. Ugh. OBS logo. Whew, there we go. Clear coat. I'll move it down a little. I think I have to really switch it off for that to be completely gone. I might just do that. The French, no. I think we had in Germany, we had this group. I forgot what they were called, but they had this song that was called Frankreich, Frankreich. Do you remember that, Christina? Ah, what happened? The back of the cylinder changed to the wrong material. I know what I did there. I totally know what I did wrong. That was very funny. I think we were still selecting these things, so we need to put rusty metal on that. Yeah, that's cool. And we just need to select the correct material here. There, that was the clear code is now down here. So the material has changed. It was just I accidentally assigned the wrong material to the thing. If you're happy with this logo, I'm happy with this logo. I'm going to go save it. I'm going to also go save as the next version here, version 4, and we'll see if we can put that animation in there. I always like that. So 10 seconds at just roughly 10 seconds at 30 frames a second, that'll be 300 frames. So if we go on to turn our animation maybe 300 frames, let's do that. Let's do it with a second camera. So I'll leave this camera as the stills camera. Stills camera. Black first, that was it exactly. Stills camera, Shift D to create a duplicate. Animated camera. Woo! There we go. With my animated camera selected, lock camera to view. Also under view object, even select view cameras. It was under view cameras. Set active object as camera. The animated camera is now going to be our active object, and I'll start. I think I'll end here at frame 250. I'm just going to go and keyframe that in I, and then I'll go end of that is about 300. Go to frame 300, also make that a keyframe. Now these keyframes appear to be the same. I'm just doing that so that I'm locking that position in, and I'll go zoom out a little bit like so. And now I keyframe this in on the animated camera. So the idea is now that, whoa, well, that was not so good. Delete that keyframe. Oh, now it deleted all the keyframes. Crazy stuff. Well, we want a keyframe here, and we want a keyframe here. However, on the first keyframe, we would like for that to look like that. Now we have these keyframes going like that. So just a subtle camera move there. And then if I wanted to, I can put some text on here, animate some text, what the episode is about. That'll be kind of nice to do that. And at the same time, I'm thinking we can now go and keyframe the light. Did your team win? Julia's team just won on Fortnite. Woo! That's exciting. Well done. Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you so much. Yes. Ha. So this is what I've done here. Man, I'm so sorry about that. It's just the pros and cons of zooming. So this is what I've done. Just a quick animated, this is the animated camera that I've set from here to there. This is essentially, we're ending up on the image that we've built, and the first keyframe is just zoomed out a little bit. And now what I'd like to try is keyframe the light, in the backlight, in much the same way. First of all, I'll try the front light as well, but I think the backlight, if I go and rim light version 2, there we go, that's cool. We'll go and do that. Location over here. Keyframe that here, and also keyframe that here. Just so that we know it'll end up here, but it might start out differently. So on the first keyframe, I'll go global maybe. I see this, that gizmo thing. Normal, global, come on. Yeah, global, that's perfect. I'm wondering if it's gonna look funky when we move. Yeah, see, this is gonna look quite nice if we just have that, move that light from somewhere to somewhere at the same time. I wonder where to start and where to stop. Oh, well, Brian, Julia is streaming every once in a while from the PlayStation. And when we had a good internet connection, we could stream at the same time. But sadly, ever since we had issues, PlayStation has crashed? No. Ever since we had issues, we can't do that anymore. So yeah, watch her channel, Julia V1. Subscribe, or follow rather. Steve, that is a good question. That's a complex one as well. I think there's an article on my website about that. I will dig it out for you. In fact, let me just look for that now, while it is fresh in my mind. I think it's on here. Was it OBS camera crop? No, that was not it. Maybe just OBS camera. No. It could be that I've made a draft that I haven't... No, it could also be on my other website. If you have so many websites that you don't remember where you've put things. Creating a round cutout mask for OBS Studio. What do you think of that? That is the article. I'll post that in the chat now. It tells you what to do in Photoshop and then how to set this up in OBS Studio. There we go. Copy this. Paste that. Haha. So that rim light. I'm thinking, shall we start like this and then end like that? Or shall we start like that and end like that? I'm thinking maybe start like this, right? Doesn't have to be that much of a change either, just so that if we if we watch the shadow move, yeah, we'll start like this. And Steve, I'm going to put some of the pre-cut episodes on OBS later on Patreon, so that you get some of the info up front. Yeah, there's one, I need to film an introduction to the first episode. So that won't have an introduction. They won't have the thumbnails just yet. Well, actually, now that we've made these things, maybe they will have the thumbnail. How's Ralph doing, Christina? Is Ralph still with you? This is what this looks like in Eevee now. It's not quite real time, but it's, you know, it's nice. So it's just that subtle camera move, and the shadows. Imagine the shadows to be softer, and that gives me a moment to talk about. In this episode, we're going to talk about how to set up a round camera cutout in your webcam in OBS and let you switch to it in 16:9 at the same time. Let's check it out. Something along those lines. And I think so, in addition to this animation, I'd also like to take the front light and see what happens if I play with that. Maybe move it further away at first so that this is kind of darkened at the front, and as we zoom in, it kind of brightens up the front there. Let's try that. Oh, cool. I'm glad you can stay with us, Ralph. That's exciting. Vielleicht lernst du ein bisschen was über Blender. Auch nicht schlecht. Blender ist sehr populär derzeit. Ist ja auch schön, ein zweites Standbein zu haben. As if 3D was something you can use in the future. Front light, that's the one. Let's animate the front light as well. So in here, I'm going to go and save this over now. I'll go animate this rotation and location. Go to the last frame, set that keyframe as well. And I'll just go and play around with it a bit. This is still set to global. Let's try local. Local works. And I guess it would be its y-axis. Is that right? GY. Yes. Yeah, so we can move its position. Fantastic. If I go and set this here, and even though we're still in Eevee, we'll just see that light moving forward now, thereby brightening up OBS a little bit. And if I talk longer, I can always either render it in 60 frames, or I can just slow it down a little bit. On slow moves like this, it doesn't really matter if you have 30 frames and you slow that down, because there's such a small shift from one image to another, it doesn't really make much of a difference. We're there. But Steve, it's such a difficult language to learn and comprehend and to speak, so me too, Christina. I find it funny because there's so many expressions that I just have never learned in German, you know. So my German is technically still based on somebody who's 15, 20 years old or so. I think I moved to London in 99, so I was 26 then. Luckily, I had a German flatmate for the first year or so. So we used to speak German together. We even used to work together, sometimes in galleries. And that was, I never liked speaking German to him in a professional environment, because I'm always thinking, if you and I speak German, then the rest of the group or the rest of our colleagues can't really participate in what we're saying. So it's difficult for them to have to chip into the conversation. But his English wasn't great, so he had a terrible accent. And he always wanted to change that. It just never really happened for him. So I'm thinking we're kind of there. Back in 1972, Steve, that's when I was born. That's crazy. So even if we had tried, we would have never met. I'm going to render two images. I'm going to render the first frame and the last frame, just so that I can get an idea of what the whole animation would look like. Do you know 128 samples? Let me just knock that down to 32, just out of curiosity. I think that might actually be enough. Especially for using denoising. I mean, 128 samples on this image is super fast anyway, so it's not a massive issue. Denoising, look at that. Denoising actually takes longer than rendering, so I might just switch the denoiser off. But it does work. But I think if I just render it with 128 and then just go disable the denoiser. Yeah, I think that is actually faster than leaving the denoiser on and having him do the thing. Actually, I can still see some noise here, so it'll take like 20 minutes or so to render this whole thing. So it's not going to be a major issue. 12 seconds a frame. I can afford to add 20 seconds for the denoiser. That would have been a cool meeting, though. Maybe we have met, Steve. Are you my dad? That would be cool. So that's the first frame. I should have saved that, shouldn't I? Well, let's render it again. Just so that we have a side-by-side comparison in a minute. Of course, Rod, the bad words. So I'll call this one frame 1, and then we'll go to the end. Yeah, I think I'll leave it like this. I don't think I'll worry about the ground. And this is frame 300. Now OBS logo frame 1 looks like that. And then this is frame 300. So anything in between is just a little animation. Tell you what I'll do. I'll go and render something. I'll just render something that goes even faster, even with the grain. So I'll go and set that to 64, and then I'll go and set this to maybe 40% of the size, and then we'll just go and render this out, and then we can all get to see this as you know, a low-res preview, so to say. If I can remember where that is. Man, where is it? There it is. Frame start, frame end. There we go. Frame rate 24. We can do that. Output. That's the output. That's it. So we'll go and use AVI JPEG in RGB. Could even probably use black and white for this. And we'll put that also on the desktop in OBS logo. I'll make a new folder called animations. And I'll call that animatic V1. And then we'll go sit back and let this render. Yeah, that should be good, right? And then we get to see what this is going to look like. I get to catch up on the chat. It's all good. Well, with the fast food, at least you can point. Well, this is why numbers are so important. Can I have a number 4 or a number 7 with extra fries? And Steve, I'm glad you speak both Australian and English. That's very nice. We've been watching a series called Fortitude recently, and that was something. Oh, can we do this? Shall we do that? That's nice. We get to see this in kind of slightly larger here. That's nice. So Fortitude, yes, it plays at a northern Norwegian island, like beyond the Arctic Circle, like somewhere in like at the very, very far north. And it's 700 people. It's a bit David Lynch-esque. Very interesting series, and everyone's from somewhere else. That's very nice. German guys there, British people, Norwegians, Americans, all very, very good hodgepodge. Strain, that's what it's called. I think you mean this, I think. Strain, that's Australian. We're already at frame 80. That's going fast. That's going fast. Oh, have Twitch approved that WP Guru Rat yet? No. Still not approved. I don't know how this works. If I get an email that says, hey, congrats, your first emote has been approved. I don't know. Do you know, they actually, Brian, they have these replicas here as well on the Ocean Drive. There's so many of these tourist hotspots, and they try and make it look appetizing. I was going to mention that to you actually, but they don't look good. So it looks more like they haven't got plastic replicas. They just have a regular meal, and somebody's prepared that, and then they just put cling film over it, and then they just let it dry out and sit there. And it's just not very appetizing. It has the opposite effect of what it's supposed to do. When I have another stroll on Ocean Drive, I'll take some pictures for you because they are hilarious. It's completely different than what you're describing from Japan. We're nearly halfway through. It's all good. It's all good. Super nasty, and including things like crab legs and all stuff that should not be out in the sun. You know, quite clearly drawing in the tourists. You go, no, that's not how you do that. Crazy stuff. Well, folks, I'm going to grab a little bit of tea. I will be right back. We'll just watch this render, shall we? Yeah, let's do that. I'll be right back. All right, let's have a look. In fact, let me go and see if I can grab that link so we can all get to see it. Hello, Chris. How you doing? Good afternoon. Nice to see you. I should say good evening, rather. We're just rendering a quick animation out here. 50 more frames to go. We'll get there. We'll get there. In the meantime, let's have a look at our man's possibly up and coming Renderosity's Artist of the Year, Mr. Roccelli, potentially. This is your quick render, is it? Very nice. Look at that. There's just so much in that picture. Tell us a bit about the console there, Rod. And you added your own graphics, right? So all these pictures here, they'll be yours, I guess, right? Nicely done. Including some Windows setup guides here. Very nice. All right, I think it is showtime. Oh no, it's not. We've got 12 more frames to render. Chris, this is a kind of a thumbnail for YouTube for a series on OBS I'm doing. And once we had the final image, I thought, hey, sometimes it's nice to have just a little animation to fill gaps or to start the series when I'm talking over something. It's kind of nice to just have that 10-second thing that I can put in the edit, and then I can talk over that. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, I'll put it on repeat. It is a little bit low resolution, but it's exactly what I'm thinking about. This is exactly what I was looking for. So it matches the YouTube thumbnail, and look at our subtle movements of the front light coming in to illuminate the center of that thing, and also the backlight just moving from left to right, just ever so subtly, so that it gives a little bit of dramatic movement there. The effect is very subtle, but you can tell it's not Ken Burns, and it's just that little bit of extra effort with the shadow moving and stuff. I like that. I think that's nice. Chris, you've got fans. How exciting. This is good. And it was how long did that take us now? It was 2 hours, my goodness. I said it's going to be 5 minutes, but 2 minutes, I think, and it was 2 hours. Luckily, it wasn't 4 hours. That's quite nice. Yeah, so that can go at the beginning of the animations while I'm after the logo, when I'm talking about what's coming up in the episode, and then we'll launch into it. That's nice. And then the thumbnail will be kind of the last image about this, and then there'll be text on the right of which episode it is or what it's about. That's the idea. Well, I think I'm going to go render this out in kind of a high resolution, and I'll say good night for now. Thank you so much for dropping by and hanging out. It was, as always, a lovely pleasure to have you all, and I think I'll be back tomorrow with some more bits and bobs. I'm going to say scene files from this session are going to be on my Patreon site, so I'll make the scene files available. There's also going to be some early access episodes to some of the episodes of the OBS or Streaming 101 series, as I'm going to call it. That'll be also on my Patreon, and the series hopefully is going to be released for the first few episodes beginning of next week. I'm hoping to wrap everything up tomorrow, and that will be that. So release sometime next week, I guess. Up until then, some rough edits or almost finished episodes on Patreon. Thank you so much for joining. I will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Bye-bye. wrong source I went to there. Sorry about that.